I have conversations with people where they go, can you build me this thing? And we say, yeah, we can. We can design it. We can build it. And then they say, great. If I like the first one, I might be interested in it as a product. Two different things. We are going to approach that entire project with the understanding of this has to be made at scale. This has to be reproducible. I can make you one of something that is very difficult to reproduce. That doesn't do you a favor as a product. I'm glad
chewing food is not T's.
I know
power.
You don't know what I'm talking about when I talk about the other type of soaking.
You just told me about it.
There's another type of soaking.
I don't want to know about that.
It's a Mormon situation.
You're not Mormon. So.
I'm not Mormon. I'm furthest from Mormon.
So is this true information or one of your conspiracy theories online?
No, there is a real thing. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
I don't want to know.
You can Google it. I don't think we can talk about it here.
I was talking about soaking about your food. You don't chew your food.
No, I chew my food. I chew and I eat my food. There are some food items that are better.
Sit in your mouth.
Yeah, let sit in my mouth. An Oreo cookie.
For an hour.
Not an hour. That's too long. Yeah, a few minutes until it gets soft and mushy.
So we have to bring food because we eat so differently. I chew and swallow.
I also chew and swallow.
No, like seconds. I don't.
An Oreo, you dip an Oreo cookie in milk?
No, I don't. That's blasphemy.
That's literally what it's designed for.
Eat milk.
It's the design. The product design is too.
I cannot eat.
First of all, you don't eat milk.
You
drink
can
milk.
when it gets chunky. It's called
yogurt.
I think
the problem is you don't understand you're supposed to put milk in the fridge. Just to be clear, the soaking I'm talking about is a food soaking.
You don't need to put your stupid Oreos in milk. Just eat them.
You don't need to.
They're
it's
tasty.
Better.
And quite honestly, the middle is much better than the cookie part.
Yeah, but if you let it get soft, which is why I soak it.
What do you have, dentures? What's the idea?
I'm bound for dentures. The amount of things I soak.
Is this our topic? How to eat food?
We're gonna talk about something that comes up a lot with me, which is what's wrong with me. I got a lot of acid reflux. Shout out to my primary care physician for switching me to pantoprazole.
That is not an endorsement for any medication.
I didn't name a brand. It's just a generic.
It's a generic.
Pantoprazole. Yeah, it's all right. Whatever you want. Whatever.
Are they going to be a sponsor?
I think I'm on 40 milligrams, 20 milligrams.
Wow,
all that stuff.
You got issues.
Yeah, because I refuse to change what I eat.
Because you don't eat, you soak it in your mouth.
That's where digestion begins. It begins with your saliva.
With mastication.
Your saliva is your first step. Anyways.
First step is a bite.
That's your first step.
Thank you.
Your second step is
letting it sit in your mouth for an hour.
The next time you go to eat a Milano, a soak an Oreo, any sort of hard cookie. A lot of my diet's cookie based. I'm realizing.
Oreos aren't hard.
What?
They're not hard. I wouldn't classify the Oreos. Is it chewy?
We can test this.
We can.
This is
We're
testable.
going to do this. Absolutely.
We can get equipment.
Where's the craft table? It's not here tonight.
The day got away from me. Had a lot of cookies this morning.
Rub it in. Go ahead.
Soft things you don't have to soak. Like a croissant. So a croissant, you just hammer that thing right down.
You keep it in your mouth?
No, I mean you keep. No, that thing is chewed and then swallowed.
Okay, whatever.
It's neither here nor there, Bob.
We're going to test this though.
We can test. There's literally there is a hardness. There is a hardness scale, and we
Oreos
can test,
aren't that high on it.
We can test.
Okay.
Compared to diamond, it's not that high, but compared to bread, it's a hard thing.
Depends how old the bread is.
It depends on if it's frickin' ciabatta. Never mind. This is another tangent. I asked for a breakfast sandwich the other day on a croissant, and they gave it to me on ciabatta and ruined my day. I thought about going back.
That's a horrible, how did that ruin your day?
Have you ever expected a croissant and gotten a ciabatta?
No.
First of all, it's covered in flour.
Because why would you put it on a croissant?
Why would you put a breakfast sandwich on a croissant?
Yeah, that's
Are you kidding
sacrilege.
me?
As a city guy, you put it on a friggin' hard roll and go.
First of all, as a city guy, you should be putting it on a bagel.
No,
we don't even have good bagels up here.
No, you don't have good bagels.
I know. That's why I'm putting it on a croissant.
No, you're putting it on a hard roll.
If I'm downstate, it's going on a bagel.
It has a hole in it. The crap drops through it. That's
specifically it's
inefficient.
It's going on an egg bagel or an egg everything bagel. if we're really getting fancy.
I don't agree.
Shout out to Town
I don't
Bagel.
agree with any of this.
Town Bagel on Long Island. Anyways, Massapequa is a great location for it. A hard roll.
A hard roll is the only way an egg sandwich gets eaten. It contains all the fluids.
Bacon, egg, and cheese on a croissant?
No.
A hard roll doesn't absorb anything.
Of course.
And first of all, if you like a hard roll, you should be even more upset about me getting a mistaken ciabatta, an accidental ciabatta.
Why?
Because a ciabatta is a
You
garbage.
made the first mistake by ordering the croissant.
No, that was the right move.
Rookie. That's
Bacon,
a rookie,
egg, and cheese on a croissant.
Rookie mistake.
And then you wind up with a ciabatta, a brick, basically a sliced brick covered in flour.
Well, if you asked for a hard roll, it'd just be a hard roll. They wouldn't screw it up, would they? No.
No, because it would also be terrible.
You know why you got a ciabatta? Because no one orders croissants, and they had to go
Literally,
find something.
Everyone would rather have a croissant than a hard roll. You wreck the roof of your mouth. You get that hard dangly thing. You go through the rest of your day, you need to put Neosporin on the roof of your mouth because you got a hard roll, or in my case, a ciabatta. Ruined my whole day.
I know what to get you for Christmas.
Opened up my tinfoil package, expecting a nice soft croissant, bacon, egg, and cheese, and what do I have? Freaking brick sliced in half. Ruined my day. Anyway.
Call in the ciabatta people.
Ciabatta. If you're getting ciabatta on a breakfast sandwich, I don't know what to do with you.
You got a croissant on a breakfast sandwich.
You really think no one out there is getting breakfast sandwiches on croissants?
We can make this a bet too. Hard roll or croissant for an egg sandwich?
It's croissant all day.
No, it isn't.
I can't believe it.
What are you, in Paris?
I don't even know. How dare you? You know I'm a red-blooded American. To accuse me of being French.
That wasn't an insult. I'm like, what do you think?
It's an insult to me.
Oh boy. All right, what's our topic today?
Now I'm upset.
You're welcome, by the way.
I was going to talk about the difference between asking someone to make you one of something and building out an actual product, but I'm all jammed up on this croissant ciabatta hard roll situation. Let me tell you something.
Let's talk about one-offs versus scaled manufacturing.
I'm so glad you bring this up.
I brought it up.
It's not even scaled manufacturing.
Just quantity manufacturing.
Yeah, just quantity. I would even say the difference between an item and a product, right? So if you come to me and you say, can you make me this microphone stand, right?
I think I asked you.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I made these. But so here's a microphone stand. It's a little block of aluminum. It has 2 holes. It's machined, whatever, right? That's an item.
Now you're talking all fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a product, we're going to need different information, right? We're going to need to know, we're going to need a dimensional print so that if we need to have it contract manufactured, we can.
How we're selling it.
How we're selling it, distribution channels, how big is the market, how do people buy, where do people buy?
Weight has to factor
Yep.
in, right?
So then from a design standpoint, we would look at how's it going to ship, cost per unit, which again is a whole other discussion about your cost of your prototype versus your cost of your at scale or your production runs. But also a big one for me is your bill of materials, right? If you come in and
Explain that though, because I don't think everybody knows bill of materials.
Sure, Bob. Thanks so much for the question. I'd be happy to answer. So a bill of materials is a listing of all of the inputs that go into making your output. A smart bill of materials is one that is linked to everything. So, for example, it's not just the aluminum. It's the aluminum, it's the supplier, it's where you got it from, it's the cost you paid, it's the length you got it in, it's the length it gets cut down to and how much that.
That's a lot of detail, T.
It's a lot of detail, Bob. And if you just come in and say, can you make me one of these? We're not going to get into that detail. But if it's something you plan to sell, that is how you will understand your cost structure. And more importantly,
and the risks.
The risks. And if you lose a supplier, how you can replace those components.
Which is a risk.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. You know, you can break it into assemblies, sub-assemblies, components, hardware, every nut and bolt that goes into something. You can also include the things you need to make it, like the end mills for the milling machine and all that, so that you have a complete understanding, depending on what stage of manufacturing you're at or what your role is in it, of what the complete cost is to take your product from raw material to finished good.
But that's only products for sale. That's not the one-offs you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying. So that is a difference between if you say to me, hey, can you help us make this thing? Sure. And it's a product. Well, now I'm looking at it differently. It's a different scope of work now.
When does use come in? Because use talks about tension and torque and force. And
Yep. Even what it's being mated to, right? So is this going to work with a specific type of microphone only, specific type of microphone adapter, specific type of, so like these are made to go into this welding table. If you want this to go into a different type of welding table, or even like these holes are a certain size, the spacing is a certain size, where you position them, that's all where your use case comes in.
Did you notice how clean this table is?
You did a great job cleaning
Thank you.
it. You did a really nice job. And I'm sorry I didn't praise you for that before.
I want a gold sticker.
Yeah, well, those are done. We're done with those.
Because they don't stick.
So, I mean, it seems, I think when I say it, it seems obvious, but
No,
it's something
that's
that
not true.
It comes up
We've
a
had
lot.
a lot of people come
Yeah.
in here and
It
couldn't
comes
even
up
tell
a
you what
lot.
nuts to use.
Well, even because they go like, well, I can get it on Amazon. Okay, so is that your business model? That you're going to buy all the parts on Amazon for the lifetime of your product? Because that's going to affect your cost. That's going to affect your supply chain.
So if somebody's sitting at home conceptualizing their product, in my opinion, I don't think they should be looking at the product. They should be looking at the proof of concept or the MVP or the prototype. That's a one-off.
Yeah.
We're not getting to that detail.
Well, even before, like I would say even before that, because if you come in and you say, I want to make...
Hold on a minute. You have that detail before you get to the first proof of concept?
No, you don't have the detail.
Oh.
You have the understanding of what you want to do with it.
Yeah, but that's all assumption.
No, it's conversation. It's communication, right? So if you come in and you say to me, can you build me a motorcycle? And I say, yeah, for sure. And you say, all right, how much is it going to cost? And I say, well, it's time and materials. And it depends on the design and all these different things. And you go, great. And then we build it. We build you a frame. And we build you a gas tank and all this stuff. And you go, I love that gas tank. I want to build that as a product. That's a totally different scope of work and project. Because when we built you the first one, we may have made it by hand using paper templates and using means and methods that are not conducive to being at scale. But if you said to me, we want to build these gas tanks as part of our product line, we are going to approach that entire project with the understanding of this has to be made at scale. So the shapes we use, the design, everything is going to be thought out with the idea of this has to be reproducible. I can make you one of something that is very difficult to reproduce. That doesn't do you a favor as a product.
Right, but I'm talking about to the audience who is there as like, I have this idea for a product. They don't have to worry about that detail yet.
What they have to worry about is communicating to whoever they're working with, whether it's an industrial designer, whether it's an engineer, whether it's a fabrication shop or a fabricator. Communicate to them early that you intend to sell this as a product. Because the way we do things, at least, is it's a different approach to how we design and manufacture it.
Yeah, but you're not going to okay, if I have the idea and our system is we're going to build some MVP or prototype and then we're going to have users test it to see what has to be changed. That first conversation isn't like, I'm going to make this a product. This is, I need this product to be used, we think, in this way.
But you're already using the word product. And I guess what I'm trying to communicate, maybe I'm doing a bad job of it, is that I have conversations with people where they go, can you build me this thing? And we say, yeah, we can. We can design it, we can build it. And then they say, great. If I like the first one, I might be interested in it as a product. Two different things. Immediately.
Yeah, but that first product's still our test case.
But
to
that
get
first one may
users.
not be a product.
No, but it's still the product you're going to test for future possibility. It might change completely. That's what I'm just trying to get across to people who are sitting there. I have this idea. I can't think that far down the line. And I'm going to say you shouldn't think that far down the line because you have no user feedback.
But what I'm saying is, if you intend for it to be a product, for me as a designer and a fabricator, I approach it completely differently. And it's important for me because I might do something where I go, like, for example, if you say, this is going to be a little bit in the weeds, but I'll explain it. If you say, I want you to build me a motorcycle frame using my suspension. And I say, great. And they go, I want it to be strong. I want it to be lightweight. And I go, great. we are going to build it out of, and we won't get crazy. We'll say something like chromoly steel, right? And you go, great. When we build it, we build the whole bike. As a sellable product, that's a bad material choice. Because if we intend to sell just the frame, people are likely going to weld carbon steel to that chromoly, which is doable, but it doesn't have the same strength characteristics. So everything that we gained, everything we gained from using chromoly steel is more complicated if we are selling you a frame kit versus if I'm selling you a complete motorcycle. If I sell you the complete motorcycle, I have a little bit more leeway for material choices because I control it from soup to nuts. If the use case is we're just going to sell frames and then people are going to build the motorcycle at home, we have to account for the fact that they are likely going to weld components onto it that are made of dissimilar metals. And so therefore our material choice right off the bat from day one for that frame is going to be different.
But you can explain that this is the proper metals to mate it with, and here's the ones you should avoid. We see that in directions all the time.
Right, but
no one's going to follow it.
But the thing is that we know that most of the off-the-shelf components that a home builder is going to buy are going to be carbon steel. Okay. So I know right off the bat, building a frame out of chromoly for people to use for kits at home is the wrong material choice. Versus you coming to me or even we can do it with bicycles, right? You come in and you go, I want to use your frame suspension, but I need it to be a racing bike. Okay, it's got to be titanium. Okay, that's a completely different price point than our ideal target market, which is middle of the road, dual sport hybrid riders, who typically ride a steel frame. And we're going to build it out of aluminum for them. Material selection changes immediately going, is this a product or is this just for you to use? If it's just for you to use, we're going to approach it differently.
Right, but most people that actually reach out to us, join our incubator, have a product idea. They're trying to get one to eventually have a product line. So I'm trying to get them into the right mindset to have conversations with whoever they meet, because we get a lot of people that are like I'm pointing at products that's sitting right there. Yeah. They were brought to us made incorrectly because they didn't have the right conversations.
Right, because they may not have said, I intend for this to be a product. They might have said, I need you to make this thing for me. And they go, okay, I'll make it. Or I'll make it to maybe you designed it and you're just giving me a print and I'm making it to your print. And then you get 10 steps down the road and you go, oh, this entire design has to be scrapped because it's not feasible as a sellable product. It's only feasible as something I want to use in my house for one of them. You know, and your bill of materials includes everything about shipping too. So the boxes, the tape, the packing peanuts, the styrofoam, whatever it is.
So you're building an SOP.
Yeah, it's everything. It's everything that it takes to get your raw material into your product, into your customer's hand.
But most people the idea inventor is going to meet don't think that far down because they've never done it themselves.
Right. But that's why when you come and work with someone like us, we're going to have those conversations with you because we are going to think about those things. And that's why we have people establish design goals super early on, because I know the trade-offs you're going to have to make in 3 months. And if you go, oh, well, I never thought about whether or not I want it to be sustainable, and now we used all non-sustainable materials, well, now it's a redesign. So we have those conversations up front. Or if you say, I need you to build me this thing and it's 8 feet long by 10 feet high. And I go, great, we'll weld it together. And you say, my number one concern is cost. Okay, the cheapest way to do it is to cut it and weld it together. Great. Now you have something that's 8 by 10 by 10. And then you go, I love it. I want to make it a product. Okay, we're going to redesign it because now it has to ship. How's it going to ship? Now it has to be in pieces. It has to be modular. It has to bolt together. Your costs go up because you have nuts and bolts and threads and all these other things. It's a completely different design scope of work when you want it to be a product.
So what lists should, and I'm talking about idea inventors, and I know we were talking about the two different aspects of products, but we keep getting DMs from people that are still at idea stage. And this incubator has some at idea stage, but most are bringing products that we're fixing. Mm-hmm. Quite honestly, that's who we're dealing with. So these people that are watching and telling us they're watching because they're sending us notes, what should they be listing or creating a list for when they go talk to somebody? What should they be saying so that they're not so far off base?
Is this truly a product you intend to bring to market, or is this just something you want? First decision. Second,
How do if you don't know that though?
well, if you don't know that, it's probably gonna be more expensive for you, bluntly. Because, like I said, the example I just used, you want me to build you a tool chest, right? This tool chest behind us. You say, I want you to build this for me. Great, we can build it. And then you go, okay, but I need it to ship. Or, okay, but I want it to be different colors. Okay, well now it needs different features and it has to be assembled and all these different things. So right up front, is this just for you, or is this something, even if I had a phone call with someone like a month ago and we had a whole conversation about what he wanted to build. And then at the end of the conversation, he said, literally, and I think that potentially this could be a good product. And I literally went, we have to restart this whole conversation, because it's a completely different approach that we're going to take if it's a product versus if you just want one of it. So that is the first thought that you need to make. Even if you're thinking, maybe this would make a good product, that needs to be one of your first conversations with whoever you're, even just within your own internal team. That's one of the first ones. The second most important thing that I would say to do is come up with design goals and priorities. And the priority part is important because you're going to have to make trade-offs. So once again, for example, if you say cost is my number one concern.
That's a design goal.
That's a design. Well, my design goal is X, Y, and Z, and my priorities are low cost. And again, this should be going back to what your customer values and product, price, place, promotion, all those things where you intend to exist.
But we also know most idea inventors have the idea for the invention before they think of the customer.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Having these things, even for yourself, which is, right, if I say cost isn't an issue, we're going to exist. So what that means to me is you're going to exist in the high end or the luxury market where cost isn't an issue. So that's going to influence material selection. If you say cost is an issue, it's going to change things. So if low cost is priority number one, and nowhere on your list is sustainability or eco-friendly, then we're going to make design decisions based on that. If at the end of the process you go, oh, and I want it to be sustainable, well, your cost is probably going to go up because now we have to use a completely different material set that is likely more expensive than the low cost. So there's a trade-off there. Or if you say cost is important, but eco-friendly is number one, then we can put together a list of materials and say, okay, here's the trade-offs. Here are your options. Here's what you're going to do. So,
but that's different than the design goals.
Yeah, the design goals are, so I'll use like my bicycle frame, for example. The design goals are, it has to mimic the design lines of a hardtail or a rigid frame. It has to be serviceable and maintainable and rebuildable. Those are design goals. It has to be no more than the current weight of a dual sport hybrid bike. These are design goals and all that. And then you get into your priorities and you say, okay, for one thing, you should rank your design goals, priority 1 through 5. But then you also get into your priorities of, like I said, eco-friendly, sustainability, does it need to ship? We have a list of things that we give people and we say, check off all of these things that are important to you and then rank them. So there's a lot that goes into it. You should rank your design goals as well, because once again, if I have to choose for my frame between saving weight, right? I could say I want it to be ultra low weight. Okay, what's the use case? Dual sport riders. That's not an ultra low weight bike. Versus a road race bike, it is ultra low weight. So now that's going to change things. My use case for the bike, if you come in and say, I want it to be, my design goal is that it's a racing bike. Okay, well, it has to be UCI compliant. Versus what we did, and we said it's not a race bike, so it's not UCI compliant. We don't have to worry about those things. So those are all design goals. Rank those in priority order so you know, but then go through all of your other characteristics and features and rank those priorities as well. Is it something that, another example of a priority, is it something you should be able to assemble at home, work on it, like rank all those
DIY?
things? Is it a DIY?
Fully assembled?
Yep, 100%.
And the only other thing I would add to that is I do think you have to make some assumptions that what is your customer base?
Yeah.
But most people don't. They think they're going to sell it to anybody.
Yeah, not everyone's your customer.
Nope.
And that's okay. In fact, it's good.
Brands create conflict.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with the difference between a one-off and what
that affects budgeting.
it does. Yeah.
So should they have an idea of what their budget is to have a realistic conversation with somebody?
Yeah, I mean, you should know what you have to spend, because it's also going to be, you know, again, I've had people walk out of meetings because they thought I was out of my mind, but I looked at something and I said, look, based on your model, this is what I think it would cost to actually build that. And they went, well, no, I looked it up on Amazon and I can get these things for $400. And okay, it's not about getting the components, it's about getting them to live together and and live together in a way that is repeatable. It's what I call your integrations, right? So how are these things, all these different components, actually going to come together and be repeatable, manufacturable, right? It's not about wiring one car. It's about, okay, how do we make a wire harness board so that we can build out wire harnesses car after car separate from the car and then put them into the car on the assembly line, you know? So that's kind of what you should have an idea of what you have to spend, because you can also know how deep you want to get into it or what your phases are going to be, right? Product development is expensive, especially for hard goods.
And the best way to do it is, as we always say, activity to milestone, and then you move on, right? Because you're pivoting all the way anyway.
And I've said it before and I'll say it again.
No one was listening.
No one listens.
No one listens.
Your prototype should be more expensive than your final cost. Anywhere from 2 to, I'm going to say on average 2 to 6 times, but for sure at least that. So if you come in and you go, okay, to build one of these things, it's going to cost $150,000. That doesn't mean it's $150,000 per piece. Right. It means that that's what it's going to take to get, you know, through a certain phase to prototype it and test it. But that should all be laid out in your scope of work of where it's going to get you.
And that's also a good filter to make business decisions. The more you have put structure on what you're trying to do, the cleaner your conversations are, because a lot of times there's so much doubt in the conversation that you go down a path not knowing what's next. Yeah. And part of the reason we're doing this is to stop people from doing that all the time, because it leads to nowhere. Well,
and I mean, not to be a jerk about it, but it doesn't waste our time either. It doesn't waste your time. I had someone say to me, I want to build this product, but here's what I have, an idea. No sketch, nothing. And he said, I got $1,000. How quick can we get it done? It's not that I don't value your time and your money. It's that it's not even going to make a dent in the uphill battle that's ahead of you. And I'd rather be realistic with you about that now than burn through your $1,000 and go, here's here's some garbage piece that we made because that's what your budget allowed. I'd rather give you a realistic idea of what your budget is, and then see what we can build for you from there. Sometimes that means building partial models or building cutaways or building, scaled models that you can then scale up. There's ways around it, but if you're not honest about those things up front, it's going to be tough. Follow us, No Flowers Podcast, and we'll see you next time.